Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It is the one and only V, the Guerrilla Economist, and I have with us the man of the hour, my good buddy, Jet Blake. Jet's been here last time, and it's been an absolute bonanza of emails and requests of people wanting to have him back on, especially now more than ever. We need somebody who's got the clear head, the level headed mind, and the sharp wits to exactly break down for us all the things that is going on globally as the beer flu, aka coronavirus, aka the Modelo disease, aka you name it, insert name here, is running rampant and breaking borders throughout the world. So, with that being said, Jet, how are you, buddy?
Oh, real good. How have you been doing?
I'm doing good, man. I had a good relaxing weekend, and here we are on Monday. We're waking up today. There's and then we have the whole entire coronavirus running rampant. And I said, you know what better time than to have Jet on? Because when the first time we talked about this, Jet, was going back maybe like 2 weeks ago, where it wasn't getting the kind of traction globally as it is right now. Now it seems like whatever containment was out there with the virus, it's starting to spread a little bit, but it still seems to be concentrating on specific regions of the world. And I just wanted your take on it. What do you think of it, and where do you think things are going from here, Jet?
Well, when we did our last interview, it was still just in China, basically the Wuhan province area. It had not reached cruise ships at that point or other countries. So right. It definitely has spread since we interviewed last. One thing to repeat on our last interview, and I know you realize this, but just for emphasis, I certainly do not claim to be an expert or a know-it-all, and I certainly do not want to spread fear as like clickbait to try to capitalize on this situation. I know a lot of YouTubers tend to do that in news media. That's not the intent of this interview. And again, you're just asking for my thoughts, and I'll give those thoughts, but I want everyone to take what I have to say and our discussion with a grain of salt. That I think that makes sense, because I don't want your channel to have comments thinking that I was overboard or I don't know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I am a scientist. I have multiple degrees in chemistry and environmental science. And as you know, I'm the co-inventor of technology that was designed to prevent what we're seeing right now.
Correct.
And later, if the conversation, depending on your time, if you allow me, the biggest alarm and concern that I have is, I won't mention it now, but if you want to remind me in 10 minutes or so, because I might forget, is the mindset of government officials and corporations. And that's what scares me the most. And I can elaborate on that later. But on the SARS-CoV-2.
Yes.
My thoughts, and again, this is speculation, but I was looking at this thinking whether it's of natural origin or engineered. I tend to believe it's engineered, as we originally spoke.
Yes.
It's acting more like a bioweapon, not to alarm people, but that's how it's behaving. Since then, we've learned if it can be 27, maybe close to 30 days of an incubation period where someone is asymptomatic, that's not a natural virus. There's no natural virus that's ever had that kind of a cloaking profile.
Right.
So I've noticed that no children have succumbed to this of any severity, and certainly no deaths. And I think you've probably discussed this maybe in recent shows of yours, that definitely affects older people the most. And then anyone that has any kind of compromise with their health or immune system, of course, this hits them hard. So I wonder if this profile of this type of a virus. Okay, so you asked my thoughts. This is a wild thought, but I think it's nice to at least kind of have aspects on the table.
Yes.
So that we can all mull it around.
Absolutely.
What if you had a virus that scared the bejeebies out of people, had a long incubation period where it's cloaked, you don't know if someone's asymptomatic or not. People tend to panic, and this is something that would hit world news and a lot of chatter on social media. So it's doing that to the T, fitting that profile. What if this it had severity, because of course there's death tolls, but it spreads quickly. But this to me would really have an impact on a nation's or a region's economy. So what if it were designed to thwart or turn the tables of regional economies, or it could be global economies, or have an agenda like that, to where if this is in your country or in your locality, your township, there would be quarantine protocols, a lot of people not showing up for work, scared to show up at work. International travel and business meetings are canceled and postponed. This would be something that it killed enough people to get your attention. It spread fast enough to become an epidemic or pandemic. It was cloaked enough that you don't know, does my worker have it? Any family members, schoolmates, teachers, who has it, who doesn't? I don't know, very suspicious. And it creates a deer in the headlight scenario where it really freezes global just-in-time delivery chains and factory production, raw material. So I think besides the health situations and death toll, this could have a serious consequence on the global economy and products. You know, close to 97% of antibiotics are produced in China.
Right.
That's a bad sign, you know.
Yeah. Chatting there.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, man. You know, that's the one thing that I was thinking about and doing a deep dive, Jet. And and look, I'm not a research scientist. I don't have anywhere near close, even 1/10 of 1% of what you have in terms of your education, your background, and the accolades that you've acquired through the years. I do have a bit of a bio background, and mostly from clinical nutritional science. I did have a little bit of epidemiology studies in college, so that's the limit to where I go. But what I do have is a mind that's geared towards just watching the trends, watching a very geostrategic mind. And Jet, it's amazing to me, as somebody who's a research scientist like yourself, and somebody who's a world watcher like myself. And I look at it from an economic geostrategic standpoint. You look at it from a scientific standpoint. And bro, we are literally lined up one for one in terms of how you and I are both seeing it. We're both seeing it the same. I believe wholeheartedly this is something that was engineered to literally, just turn the tables economically on a region. And I'll say this, and I was going to save this for the Patreon, but hey, I'm just gonna blurt it out here. When you look at the countries that are affected by this, China most importantly, right? I swear the pathway of this virus, if you took an overlay of the One Belt, One Road initiative and you put it on a map, right? Or you have a map of where the virus is, and you have the overlay of the One Belt, One Road. You put it right over, and the path of the virus and the path of the One Belt, One Road initiative, it just matches almost darn perfectly. And I'm not talking about some isolated case of one person here sick. I'm talking about these clusters, right? Everything from Southern Korea, and folks tend to forget back in 2013 when Park Geun-hye, which is the original president of South Korea, when she before she was taken out and deposed by the current administration that's in South Korea right now. But Park Geun-hye, she was out there, one of the advocates for the New Silk Road and for the One Belt, One Road initiative. And I remember her so clearly, Jet, talking about, hey, you know what? The New Silk Road will be running from Busan, which is the southernmost port, second largest city in South Korea, right? And largest port in South Korea. And it's going to run from Busan all the way to London, so to speak. And when you see where the outbreaks of the coronavirus are, right, it's in these industrial zones, major industrial corridors. That's number one. Number two, you look at these corridors are all what is Dongqi, which is not too far from is like the halfway point between Busan and Seoul. What does that region in South Korea have in common with Wuhan, with the Hubei province, with Shenzhen, with Guangxi? What does it all have in common? These are all major industrial zones that focus in on high-end electronics, smartphones, computers. I mean, you name it. This is the industrial hub where 80%, especially in China, 80% of their GDP is coming out of there. This is going to really screw them up in a big, major way, Jet. I agree with you. This is a lot of things on this is very funny. The long incubation period, like you nailed it on the head from the moment I spoke to you, which was a few weeks ago. You said, "V, this is behaving more like a bioweapon than an actual, animal virus." Jet, this is what I'm seeing, man. I'm seeing a complete turning of the tables, and then the fact that you have the president traveling, he's going towards India. There's a movement against the Chinese version of the multipolar world, and we could see. I mean, think about all the manufacturers that were manufacturing in China. If they can't get a grasp of and getting their things together in the next, I say, 4 to 8 weeks, Jet, these companies are looking to move, and they will move manufacturing facilities very quickly, man.
Yeah, a couple things is I was looking at the One Belt, One Road Initiative map. And what really, again, this caveat that this is speculation and not meant to cause alarm. This is just us thinking out loud, but we're on your media platform, so others are listening in right now. So hopefully there won't be negative comments that I'm a crackpot, even though maybe to a certain extent they might be true. But when Iran had this case pop up, now they've had it's changing by the minute. They've had the last report was a little over 61 cases and over 50 deaths. I'm going, wait a minute, 50 deaths out of 61 cases so far, and the death rate is being counted by the hour in Tehran. That now is fitting this model of allies or pathways of an economic pact, the One Belt, One Road. And what if you had the ability to use this? I don't know. What if you had an ability to use this outbreak, but you had agents or means of releasing a more potent batch in areas of the same signature, the same genome, but of higher potency? Why would Iran have 50 deaths out of 61 cases? So that's an 80% or higher than anywhere else in the region, and it's happening so quickly.
Yeah.
Isn't that suspicious?
It's very suspicious. Chad, let me ask you this, man. You have the background, you have the expertise in this, especially dealing with the containment aspect of virology. Is there a way? And because right now, because nobody out there outside from the people who are on the ground and when have their hands dirty from either CDC or the military or the intelligence services that are right now knee deep in this stuff, but on the speculative level, and let's just speculate. Let's put our brains together and let's just speculate. Let's have some fun with this. Is there a way that somebody could steer a virus? Is there a way to steer a virus, kind of like how you can manipulate a flock of birds moving through the air? Is there a way to perhaps control it to some measure?
I would say yes, but I don't know how much I want to say publicly.
Understood.
Let me boy. See, a lot of people, anytime we go public, there's governments and departments could be listening to this transmission, and I don't want to. It's very difficult to answer your question. I don't want to get in trouble myself, but let's say there's nano technology that could have on and off switching capability due to microwave transmission over a 4 or 5G network system.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, if you had that capability, is it possible you could have switches turned on and off via Wi-Fi or tower arrangements, which can be, as you know, GPS pinpointed literally within a city block or halfway around the world. Now you could control, in your expression, the direction of a flock of seagulls flight.
There you go. There you go. And isn't it amazing? Like when you see when we first saw the numbers coming out of Wuhan, the Hubei province, and then we see the numbers that are coming out of Iran in Qib and the surrounding areas around Tehran, the explosive, for lack of a better word, Jet, the explosive outward momentum of infection, and it was just tremendous just to see how quickly it was spreading in a concentrated area so very quickly. The virulency of it is mind-blowing. It made me think of, it almost looks like somebody dropped a biobomb, a biological virus bomb in the middle of the place, and just it exploded. It's crazy, man. I'm literally running out of lack of words just trying to describe what my mind is seeing, you know?
Well, we talked about it. It's suspicious that this happens during flu season, and then it happened in a concentrated area where they had festivals, celebrations, trying to set world records, and then just before the greatest New Year celebration, highest foot travel. I mean, that's when you'd want to plant something if you wanted to get feet and pedal off to other locations. That window is actually within a 7-8 day window. That's when this happened. So what are the statistics if this were accidental or natural mutation that happened during that 8-day window of maximum spreadability?
Yeah. What do you think also, like, when I was looking at 2 studies that have come out of Wuhan that they've published, and it was looking at about 75 to 150 cases of deceased people, and they've done the autopsy reports on them. What they're finding with all these deceased cases, the average age is about 55 years old. They're male, they're Asian, or they're people with underlying health conditions to begin with. And that varies, that goes up and down the age ladder from young or old. But anyway, the typical 55, male and Asian. There's a lot of talk about, the ACE receptors, the ACE receptors that are in the human body, the whole entire ACE2 receptor, what's called the receptor setup that's within the human body, and how Asians have a slightly more genetic proclivity to something like this than per se everybody else. Have you seen anything similar to that or heard about it?
Yes. Yeah, that's where you can, if you're talking about something man-made or engineered, then you can target the protein adherence and locations to where this could take root, so to speak. So in this case, it's in the lungs. There's probably, it wouldn't surprise me if years ago this has already been done, but again, this is speculation because I'm not in those quarters. My expertise, as you mentioned, is in technology to stop outbreaks like this. So maybe I'm on the other side of the table, but obviously there's a lot of smart people employed to design bioweapons, or if there are cultures made of these viruses, then there are smart people who are trying to design vaccines and so forth. Whatever the case might be, that you could design or work on manipulating the DNA sequencing to target specific races and ethnic groups and age categories. That is possible.
Absolutely. Jet, knowing how this is affecting people. It's affecting the lungs. We know that men also have. I think JK made it a point on the live chat. Men have 3 times the ACE2 than women. And knowing how this is affecting men, it's affecting the lungs. You have the creation of cytokine storms. What are some of the preventatives that people could do, what communities could do, what neighborhoods could do to help limit this? And also, you've studied outbreaks from everything from Ebola to SARS to MERS and all this other stuff. How really bad is this? Because I'm seeing a percentage death rate about anywhere between 2.1 and 2.8%. What is your take on all this? Like prevention of preventative steps that people could take, and also how bad is this on a scale globally, and also towards the end of the broadcast we'll also talk about the mindset of the governments and the corporations and their response and reaction towards this virus. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, because I think whether you have me back or not on subsequent shows, is up to you and your scheduling and mine. But that's the most important topic. Hopefully, we can cover in this interview, because that's not speculation, and that's what should scare the bejeebies out of all the listeners of the show. So I do want to address that. It looks like around 3% of your CFT, so that's case fatality rate. It's very high. It's around 14% if you already have health issues. You have a compromised immune system to begin with. So you have health problems, past or current smoker, lung issues. So it jumps up to 14%, and it's very high if you're like 79, 80 years and older. It's around 15%. So I think there's quotes of the general, like influenza A and B, how you can have 100,000 people die of that, which is much higher than this current outbreak. That's true. And you get pneumonia type situations, which this is mimicking that. As far as concern is the speed at which this is spreading, and the fact that it can be cloaked for 27 days and it exists a long time on surfaces is a concern to me. That's what would make this different than your typical influenza A or B. So when people go, whatever, more people die of these regular flus than this, yes. But the regular flus do not have this cloaking of 27 days where someone has it and they don't know it, and a regular flu does not last this long on surfaces. And that's where my expertise is air and surface contamination. And this is acting different. So the death toll is not as high right now, but the fact that the speed it's traveling and those two things I mentioned is what has me concerned. You asked about preventative. Oh, do you want to say something or talk about preventative?
No, let's talk about preventative, and then we can talk about the bureaucratic nightmare that this is causing.
So a lot of this is common sense. You have an intelligent audience. You can tell by the questions and statements that they make. So I think, and I've talked about this for many years, and no one listens. I'll address this, which infuriates me. Not that I'm Mr. Know-it-all and everyone should listen to me, but when I have the credentials and the information and I'm still not listened to, I get very angry and then also depressed. But I think social conditions need to be taken into consideration. If this isn't on lockdown yet and under control, I mean, would you want to go to the ball game or the musical concert or the Broadway show? In my case, as a scientist, my answer is no. Canceling trips, maybe overseas and air traffic for now, I've canceled. So these are things I've done myself. Washing your hands frequently, and building and you can't do this overnight. This is the problem. When there's a crisis like this, everyone panics. What can I do to build my immune system? Well, the problem is, as you know, and you've probably stated this, all of us should have been, and hopefully we have been, but if we haven't, I guess it's never too late to start, but we need to build our immune system or our health. That takes 2, 3, 4 years to get proper supplements and breathing techniques and nutrition in the body, and especially your high mineral content. There's over 70 minerals that our body needs, and the highest concentration of these important minerals in different percentages, it takes close to a year to get them fused in our bone marrow. So when you have situations like this and you run to the health food store and start researching supplements, okay, I guess this is a good motivating force, but you should have been doing this 4 years ago. Why are you starting now? But anyway, with your family, you want to eat right and have proper nutrition. Plant-derived is the best from my research, because the body can absorb it versus metallic clays or sea corals. So getting the right vitamin mineral uptake, avoiding public places as much as possible, regular washing of hands, or getting in a habit. I always have like when I have like a paper towel. I keep 2 paper towels in my pockets. I know this sounds funny, but whenever I touch a door handle or drinking fountain, I always take out the paper towel to touch it, and then I dispose of the paper towel so I'm not directly touching surfaces. And then maybe certain customs like hugging and kissing, whether it's at church events or if that's your culture, maybe stop doing that. And I always give people I've been doing this for years, personal courtesy. When I talk to them, I'm not real close to their face. I like to have 2 feet gap while I'm talking to individuals, because the little particulates of saliva when you pronounce P's or other words, that keeps it from hitting their face. But these are just regular things that can be done immediately to help prevent this. If it's known in your township, you would definitely want to have protective breathing equipment, even though it's uncomfortable, especially in warm weather. But the mask would be helpful. And unfortunately, this is it's if it gets in your eye, though, I think it could be transferred through the openings of your eyes. So I don't know if you'd maybe if you wore some type of sunglasses and so forth with the particle mask, if this is known to be in your township, I would definitely have some type of eye protection. It doesn't have to be an awkward goggles like construction goggles, but even sunglasses would help. And then the breathing N95s I would have if I'm going to the grocery store. And then the poor kids at school, if they're riding a school bus or I don't know what the school protocol is. I'll tell you that nightmare in a minute. But I'll stop now. Let you talk.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, we could talk about let's talk about the school and school buses. I mean, that is a petri dish for transmission.
Right. So I'm not a medical doctor, but usually with kids, about 4th grade, about 4th grade is when they kind of develop an adult immune system. So from kindergarten, or nowadays, I think they have daycare centers, because there's a lot of teenagers with children. But if you have pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade, the immune system isn't developed. It's a petri dish. There's drooling and slobbering and runny noses, and then the kids they catch it at school, and then get the parents sick or their siblings sick. So the schools have always been a hot zone. Well, we've known this for years. Oh, and here's something else to consider just for the listening audience. Those hand sanitizers?
Yeah.
You squirt the hand. Okay. Hand sanitizer, effectively, if it's a 2-log reduction, 99.99% reduction, there's still a lot of bacteria or viruses present when you have a 2-log reduction, but of course it's better than no reduction at all. But those hand sanitizers, if you look at the white papers and read those, most of them, the effective kill rate, the solution needs to be on your hands for around 120 seconds. That's 2 minutes. No one ever lathers for 2 minutes on those hand sanitizers. They'll do one squirt, swipe their hands as they go out. Well, if it's alcohol based, as soon as that coolness wears off and the alcohol evaporates, its ability to sanitize your hand area has ceased. You have to pump probably 3 to 4 times to have that alcohol active, lathering for 120 seconds. Then you've reached that 2-log reduction that they might have on the sticker, the label of the bottle. Most people do one squirt and it evaporates around 20, 22 seconds. The bacteria is still, is still on your hands and active. It didn't do squat. It's all psychological. I've never seen people pump 3 times and lather for a full 2 minutes, then walk out of the establishment.
No,
So,
me neither.
throw that out there. Well, water-based would last a little bit longer before that vehicle evaporates. So think of that. If you're using hand sanitizers, no one tells you this, but you'll have to do some auxiliary reading. You got to lather for 2 freaking minutes. People don't do that. Now, schools, the problem is you have that the school bus and then the classrooms and cafeteria. It's not likely that kids are going to have a respirator on a particle mask all day. There's no way. Or that it would not tear or be in good standing from morning to, how active kids are and everything. And then how do you talk and participate in class and eat and recess? This is just not feasible. So that's why I spent all those years developing the technology to be installed in classrooms to where it'd be very effective with air and surface cleansing, sanitization, and schools don't care. I met with the state that I'm in. I'll give you an example. I'm going to go on a little rant here, but I'll let you speak. The state that I'm in, I contacted every single superintendent and principal of my state, telling them who I was, the technology that I was involved in, and I offered a program for all schools to get it at cost, manufacturing cost. Not one nickel would be made, and efforts would be made for assistance in installing at no charge. You know how many schools? Well, let me back up. There was about close to 300 school districts. So, some are tiny rural, some are cities, so some school districts might have 3 schools, others might have 30. So 300 school districts. You know how many replied to my offer?
0.
Not quite that bad. 6.
Wow.
6 schools in my state have this technology installed.
Holy cow.
And out of the 300, I only had about 13, 6 of what's 6 installed, 13 responded to my. So we have a mindset. And unless you want to make a comment before I get into.
Yeah, it's literally almost like a run to failure mindset. They don't care. They're going to keep running it as is, until the wheels fall off. They're going to keep passing the buck to somebody else. They're going to blame somebody else. They're going to keep doing what they're doing because they can't upset the apple cart. It's craziness.
Yeah, before someone starts commenting saying, well, it's true, schools have tight budgets, shoestring budgets, and there's pressure. Maybe teachers haven't gotten raises in 10 years. I understand that, but you don't know the specifics and the arrangements made, and the cost of the technology was very inexpensive. There's still no excuse. That's the bottom line. So I know There'll be people making comments about that, but they don't have all the facts. But what's the most dangerous to me is this global mindset that is not going to change in my assessment. I have, and this is where I'll be calm because I tend to get very emotional and I don't want to start shouting. I want to be respectful of you and your audience. Otherwise, you'll never have me back.
No, we like shouting here. We get very animated. Please feel free. Serious, go for it.
I think, and I'm not a psychologist. There's only so much in the field of science. so I could be wrong here, and others might comment and be able to nail it better than me. The mindset of maybe it's the global educational system or where we are as a society. No one, I mean, no one ever thinks of preventative or preemptive strategies to implement. Everyone waits until there's a crisis. They wait till the Titanic, in this illustration, hits the glacier and starts sinking. And even then, they were still eating and dancing and not taking it seriously. Everyone waits till there's a crisis, and then they have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, that's a horrific strategy to have, and that's what governments behave, corporations, the educational system, they all are either trained this way or it's part of an MBA program. It's a mindset, and that mindset is going to kill humanity. Literally kill humanity. It's the same mindset that doesn't understand the percentage of fresh water versus salt water and the depletion of aquifers and the pharmaceuticals and some of the herbicides and pesticides that are contained in the water, and no one is returning water in a clean state back into the environment, and the long-term consequences, whatever, we'll worry about it later when it comes. Yeah, well, when it comes, it's too late. So what happens is I'll tell you this right now, I have personally given presentations and demonstrations, all this technologies, and this show is not about promoting my technology. I'm not mentioning what it is, and no pricing, no website, nothing. So all the critics out there that might label, this is informative. I'm just telling you the mindset of people. So here's me, the co-inventor of this technology. I personally travel to these venues of conventions where the United Nations is present, the World Bank is present, government leaders are present, and it's a 3-4 day event, people coming from all over the world, and I'm a guest speaker. And I go there and I explain that there's future pandemics, the potential, it's going to happen, it's just a matter of when, the cost of food contamination and how this works to prevent food disease and preservation of food. For example, produce can last 10 days without refrigeration with this technology, how safe and inexpensive this technology is. So it can help with food rotting, food transportation, foodborne illnesses, pandemics like this virus going out, VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So if you have a new building or something remodeled, the first 6 months are horrific with formaldehydes, acrylics, and glues escaping the building materials. It dies off, after 7 years. The first 9 months is the most toxic. This helps keep people from getting blood poisoning and sick building syndrome. Everyone's yawning. They could care less. All these events is about cocktail clanking, dinners and entertainment at night, and no one cares about solutions. These are at the political level, the university level, the corporate level. They do not care at all. None of them. So here's me, right? I'm not telling people what my IQ is, how smart I am, how many degrees. I just mentioned it for general background. I'm not even going to get into that. Here's the problem. Now I'm pissed. So here's a scientist who has solutions. I've spent, the two of us worked on this iteration of this PCO technology. 11 years, 11 years. I had $2.5 million my own money. The other individual had more. He worked out of Texas. I worked out of my state. We worked on this. We collaborated over the years. I sold a $500,000 car collection. I know you like cars. I do too.
Yes, I do.
I had real estate and homes. I sold everything I had, all assets I had, and I went into this full idiot. I look back now, I was an idiot. Well, it's too late now. I thought this technology could help with food preservation, food rotting, indoor health issues, pandemics, and so now this has been invented, it's been patented, it's been available. Yawn, crickets, no one cares. Hospitals, I said, if there's a pandemic situation, what happens if you knock out all the paramedics, the nurses, and the doctors, the paramedic helicopter pilots, because this is so virulent? They're the first line of defense, and they don't know that it's hit their township yet, and they're all dropping like flies. How long does it take to get a doctor, a nurse, an X-ray technician, a helicopter pilot? You don't grow them overnight. Here, this technology acts as an invisible firewall. It's a protection. No, we're not. No, not interested. Yeah, but you can have this in the helicopter. It's less than $600. No, we don't want to install it in the ambulance, the school buses, hospital. Yeah, but if it's at cost, how about $290? No. So what happens is now I'm ticked, and I forecasted, we had all the numbers, that there's not going to be one outbreak or two, but there'll be multiple outbreaks as time goes on through mutations and so forth. It'll be trends where people will be very concerned about going out in public. They're going to need an advanced personal breathing headset, which is way more effective than an N95 mask that you throw away after so many hours. People weren't interested in funding it. No grants available. I wouldn't go that way anyway. No one could care less. Well, sure enough, as I predicted, we're going to get to a point where people will need personal headgear to prevent things of this nature, but they wait till it's too late. Now I'm ticked off as a scientist. Forget it. I'm done. I am done.
Yeah.
I have designs, all completed prototypes. We have such corruption at a government level with the U.S. Patent Office and the major IP firms in this country and internationally. IP is being stolen. Claims and rights are being withdrawn and given to Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies. The small guy gets crushed. So here,
Sure.
let's take a scientist like me. Let's say, so I'm bragging. Oh, he's got a great mind. Well, I'm done. I'm so ticked, and I've had my IP stolen. I've had threats and intimidation. I'm done. So what happens when you have guys and gals like me who have solutions and we've been stomped on and shredded by this global system of things? We're not helping anymore.
Right.
Good luck.
Exactly. I wouldn't blame you, man, because you hit the point. And this old maxim from Ayn Rand holds true today, Jet. Who is John Galt?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. This is what's happening. I'm telling you, this is what's happening right now. There are men and women like me, scientists like this. We're withdrawn from this global system. I want no part of this world anymore.
Amen. Absolutely right. And I've talked to other people that are in the field, not in your field specifically, but other like nuclear technology and energy and all these other components that I've talked about. Amazing, brilliant men and women who are just absolute mavericks in their industry. And they're like, we're done. We can't get anywhere because the system is absolutely hell-bent on suppressing all this. They are all about keeping status quo. Very well said, Jet. Very well said.
Right. So one thing before, while I think of it, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
Before there's a bunch of hate and comments, because I'm very careful about your show. I don't want to taint your show. And
no, it's all good.
Do not have me back or anything.
Oh, please, I'm gonna have you back several times.
Now, I do not promote my YouTube channel. In fact, in my YouTube channel, I say don't subscribe. I want to keep it small because they'll remove it instantly. I'm not even a blip on the radar because I'm a nobody.
Right.
But in YouTube videos, I want to let your audience know I have given the technology, how to build one and how to design it for free. It's in my videos. Over a year ago, I told how to build a PCO cell, and I've shown pictures of the portable prototype headset.
Mm-hmm.
Free. You look at the videos. I gave it free. So let me see the comments now about my frustration. How many of you have spent over 11 years and millions of dollars and given away for free? I did that. So I want people to realize I've checked out, and the system is so flawed it can't be fixed. And it's frustrated scientists like me. But I gave a parting gift and broke down how to do this if you're so inclined. And with 3D printers getting more and more inexpensive, it's definitely in the realm. But hey, I did all I could. I'll never recover the assets that I've had and the other future ideas that I had. And we talk in private. Maybe when we get off this, I'll tell you some more about the advancements of water. What we are finding is staggering, and we are no longer going to write white papers. I've severed all affiliations with universities. I will not approach any government agency. This technology is for the few. And I think if a giant reset is coming sometime, maybe those that survive this reset, these technologies will be released to humanity then.
Absolutely. Very well said. Jet, thank you so much for being on and sharing this amazing plethora of information with us, your viewpoints. Folks, what a delight to have Jet on, and we will be sure to have him back on again because there's so many things happening in this world. And I think, look, Jet said this before. This is not the big one, folks. There's more pandemics coming. The big one is still out there. The outlier that's the killer is out there. So be informed, be prepared as we look for the way ahead. Thank you so much for everybody for listening in.